Man, Jacob, that jungle cruise was different than I was expecting.
I know, like the time with the dinosaur.
Yeah, whew. And then when we jumped forward in time and we saw the pyramids, and then our most recent jump in time, and we saw that amazing jungle section and just all the growth and everything, and that cool different colored sky.
Yeah, good thing we got all that on camera, right?
Oh, I'm so glad we got it on camera. Wait. You brought the camera home, right?
I thought you were bringing the camera home. Not again!
Jacob, no!
This is just like Santa all over again.
It's just like when we went to go see Santa.
And we don't even have our studio again.
Yeah.
Because it got destroyed.
Our studio got destroyed when we did the time machine.
Yeah, because the T-Rex jumped on.
The T-Rex jumped back in time, just jumped in the time machine with us, jumped out, destroyed our studio. Then luckily we brought the T-Rex back to the time it was supposed to be. But, unfortunately, our studio got destroyed, so we're recording in the ultra secret backup studio.
Yeah, that's totally a thing.
That's totally a real studio, and not just some random room that we're in that we happen to be recording in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wait. So what are we gonna do?
What I think we're gonna do is we're gonna have to tell them what happened.
Wait. What about those one guys we met? The guys who had the Disney ride?
Yeah. You're right. Those science guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
We met them.
that's what we'll talk about. But first, we've got some announcements. So, the first announcement. Also, when I wrote the script for this episode, I did not tell Jacob what the announcements were. So, Jacob is not going to know the announcements. All right. So, the first thing is for the next 2 months or so, maybe a little less than 2 months, like 7 weeks, the upload schedule is going to be weird because Jacob and I are working on a lot of stuff that we're not going to tell you. And you'll get to hear about it towards the end of this announcement section. But just stay tuned. We'll try to upload as much as we can and get some of the different shows going. But, yeah. Secondly, obviously we've been sick, so,
That's why it happened.
That's why we were definitely on a jungle trip.
We were sick while we were in the jungle trip.
Yeah. We caught
the Spanish flu.
Jungle fever, yeah. Anyway, so then obviously new recording stuff coming soon. Hence why we joked about not having a studio. Patreon. Head on over to that Patreon if you want to support the show. The last two announcements, these are the kind of the important ones. So there's obviously not going to be uploads every week because Jacob and I have a little secret thing that we're going to be doing.
And then
there will be some uploads and stuff, probably accompanied with some video for that, and that'll probably be a several part episode. So be looking forward to that. Probably coming end of March, maybe mid-March, but probably end of March. So stay tuned for that. And then we've got a secret project that I'm going to tease here coming April 15th for our 1 year anniversary of the show. I can't give you too much info, but it's going to be a fun one. So, but now on to the actual episode. So there Jacob and I were, and we're in these jungles, and we see these guys with these white lab coats on, and we go, "Hey, who are you?" And you know what they said? Jacob, why don't you tell them what they said?
They said we work for Monsanto, but more importantly, we work for President Nixon.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always what we want to hear. President Nixon and large United States companies.
What has Nixon ever done wrong?
Yeah, the third largest chemical supplier in the U.S. and President Nixon. That's what I want to hear. So, but today we're going to be talking about Monsanto. So if you don't know who Monsanto is, you're going to get to know them real fast because that's what today's episode is going to be about. And I hope you're ready to learn because this is going to be a fun one. Sorry about all the coughs during this. Jacob and I are still sick with our jungle fever or whatever we have. So let me hit you with the brief history of Monsanto, and Jacob's going to interject and ask all the crazy zany questions that you might be wondering at home. So, starting with the founding of Monsanto. So Monsanto was founded in 1901 as a chemical company in St. Louis. The guy who founded it was 42. His name was John Francis Queeny, and he was a 30-year veteran of the pharmaceutical industry, which is kind of interesting because it says he was at age 42. He's a 30-year veteran, so he started pharmaceuticals at age 12. So that's what I want to hear.
He was working the.
Yep, and he created this company with money he got from selling soft drinks. and then he used his wife's maiden name for the name of the company, called Monsanto, because that's his wife's maiden name. And then the first things that Monsanto company made were artificial sweeteners like saccharin, as well as caffeine and vanillin, which is like the artificial vanilla. And then there's some interesting things where they kind of grew and they started making aspirin, which is a lovely favorite, and they processed rubber. So, and then this is where we take a little turn where Monsanto basically in the 1920s just immediately started making stuff that kills you. They started making sulfuric acid and PCBs, which are highly carcinogenic compounds. So, and actually have been banned by the United States in the 70s.
Wait a minute.
So, that's not great. And then in the 20s, mid-20s, Monsanto just made a town called Monsanto. Because, Ford made his Fordlandia. Monsanto, they were like, why don't we get a little Monsanto going?
Walt made his dome.
Walt made a little Epcot going. Also, Walt was
Not making the Epcot.
not making any money at this time. In 1926, he would have been poor.
He was a poor man. Walt.
Yeah. And then if we jump forward, we get to the time of World War II, and Monsanto.
They're doing pretty good.
Monsanto did some interesting things during World War II. They helped make nukes, as all United States companies do, and then jumping forward into the post World War II time period, they started making things such as DDT, which is a nice compound that can be used for insecticides. So
Big Bongo Boom.
yeah, and they also they did some things that were a little questionable, and that's what we'll be starting to jump into as we get to the second part of this episode: chemical herbicides.
Oh man, we love chemical herbicides.
Guys, I'm a big fan of the environment. I love the environment. You know who didn't like the environment? The U.S. government. They didn't like the environment.
They don't let us
They didn't like that environment at all, especially not when it was the environment in Vietnam, where Jacob and I took our little jungle cruise.
Yeah, and everything was fine. The trees were very nice.
The trees were very nice, and then these big U.S. airplanes started flying real low, and they had these fun little colors coming out the back, and suddenly Jacob and I started coughing a lot. And then Jacob and I did a little time trip, and we jumped forward 6 months, and suddenly there was no forest in the same spot.
It was kind of crazy.
It was kind of crazy.
And then we met Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah, we met Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Don't ask about that. That's for different.
Yeah, that's for a different part of the story, but
yeah. But also at the same time, Monsanto invented AstroTurf. You know, the thing that they
use in football
the
fields.
thing they use in football, which is kind of crazy.
Like that's never lost a Super Bowl for anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So a good friend of the Monsanto company was the Dow company, and do you know what Dow really enjoyed making was the very famous Agent Orange, and you know who else helped make Agent Orange? Monsanto. You know what really helps your company out is,
and you know what Monsanto has right now? They have a little thing called a Disney ride.
They do. If at the time of them absolutely destroying all of the jungle in Vietnam, they had a little Disney ride, and that's what we'll be talking about next, is the Disney ride Adventure in Inner Space. So this ride, sponsored by Monsanto, of course, is let me jump back a little bit. So at one point, Disneyland's Tomorrowland, which is kind of a mouthful, had 3 Monsanto-inspired attractions. I believe they were the Hall of Chemistry, this display show about fabrics, and then lastly, Monsanto's House of the... Jacob.
Sorry.
Monsanto's House of the Future.
I tried to time it right, okay?
Yeah, you didn't time it right. It's all right.
It's the Monsanto people, I'm telling you. They put something in the water.
They put something in the air, and that's why we're coughing. That's what it is. Do you think this is insensitive to veterans?
You know.
So back to Adventure in Inner Space. So Monsanto had a house of the future, and by the mid-60s, all of these attractions were very outdated. Like, who wanted to look at fabrics that were 10 years old, or who wanted to look at the house of the future that was already, 7 years old. So, in the mid-60s, Monsanto decided that they, along with Disney, would sponsor a new attraction, which opened and was called Adventure in Inner Space. A dark ride by Disney, and it took you through a model microscope and then into the inside of a molecule and an atom, and there are all sorts of things. And kids really like using this attraction for kissing.
I was gonna say.
Well, oh man!
See, here's the thing. When you make a dark ride, here's one thing that kids really like about dark rides: that it's dark, and no one can see what you're doing. So if you're just moving around in front of your parents, they can't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't listen to what I'm saying, kids.
Yeah, don't listen to. Listen to Jacob's words, but don't hear them. Okay.
Okay, listen.
Do as he does, not as he says. Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, jumping back to the Vietnam War. So there's what's called the rainbow herbicides, right? Which are
they made very fun colors.
Are in all sorts of fun colors. So let's read some of these colors. We got Agent Green. We got Agent Pink. Whew. And these go kind of in.
They're like kryptonite.
These go kind of in order of potency.
Except for the pink kryptonite does not make. The pink Agent Pink does not make you what it does to Superman.
Yeah, it's not the same as the pink kryptonite.
It does not.
Then we got Agent Purple. That's a fun one. Then we got Agent Blue. Then we got Agent White, which is mostly salt, which is surprising.
Yeah, well, because you can just dry up all the.
Yeah, and then we got everyone's favorite Agent Orange. But what you don't know is they also had Agent Orange 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Agent Orange 3. It's gonna destroy that tree. And then they had Enhanced Agent Orange, or Agent Orange Plus, or Super Orange, or Dow Herbicide M3393 Standardized Agent Orange mixture of 2,4D and 2,5,4,5-T combined with an oil-based mixture of Picloram, a proprietary Dow company product called Tordon 101, an ingredient of Agent White. Yeah,
Luke's been wanting to say that for days.
Yeah. It's just like, don't look up Obama Hospital. It's a great thing to say and have your friends enjoy. So those are the rainbow herbicides, and those just wiped out all of Vietnam. And guess what? It killed like 600,000 people. Just the chemicals.
Great job.
I mean, hey, let's go. Who needs to fight a war when you can just kill the people with chemical warfare? Wait, what happened in the Geneva Convention?
Hey,
actually, real question though: how was the U.S. not committing a war crime by just straight up?
That's killing civilians, right?
It's gotta be. Like,
well, I guess they weren't doing it to kill civilians, but they probably knew it was.
So they're gonna get involuntary manslaughter under the Geneva Convention.
I don't know what the Geneva. I was just looking for my phone, but Luke has like the notes on his phone.
I do. All right. But jumping back to the public reception of this,
it was pretty good because no one knew about it.
Yeah, so everybody was like, Monsanto. I like Monsanto. I'm a big fan of Monsanto. That Dow company, I hear they're using that Agent Orange. They're no good.
And then Dow goes.
And then a piece of paper gets leaked to the press, and the press goes, wait a minute. Monsanto's in on this? And so then a bunch of U.S. chemical companies got absolutely sued by class action lawsuits.
So remember that one time where they leaked those trailers for the video games? It's like that.
It's like, yeah, for you youths at home, it's like when your favorite video game trailer gets leaked, except instead of being happy and joyful that you get to see your new game, it's actually a bunch of U.S. civilians seeing that companies that they spend money on are actually killing their own troops. So that's pretty fun. So the public reception was absolutely terrible, and suddenly Monsanto was not well liked, which did not help the Disney ride at all. And so by 1978, I believe the Disney ride dropped its sponsorship, or Monsanto dropped its sponsorship of the Disney ride. I believe it was in 1978, maybe a little earlier, maybe 77. But also, a little fun fact, we will be using some Monsanto logos in this video because they are no longer trademarked. So,
public domain, baby!
Public domain. If they're not there,
The mouths can't get me now.
If they're not there, it's because I actually did more research and they aren't public domain. But I think they're public domain.
If we don't, we'll just put a picture of Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, we'll just put a lot of Steam. We'll put the. Actually, let's splice in all of Steamboat Willie right here. Just like a little 3, 2, 1. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to edit that in. That would be too much. All right. So jumping on to the next thing. Hippies were not a big fan of Monsanto.
Hashtag hippie not like Monsanto.
That's a mouthful, dude. That is incredible. That's
hippie hate Monsanto.
Hippie hate Monsanto.
They call it HHM.
Isn't that from Better Call Saul?
Is that an actual thing from Better Call Saul?
Yeah, it is. It's called Hamlin McGill. Anyway, but jumping back to those hippies, there was a huge protest about Monsanto. Also, Disney was getting a lot of flack for having rides sponsored by Monsanto.
Well, no, it wouldn't have been Walt. I was going to say, Walt was
Walt was no longer there.
Roy would have been alive.
Yeah, he was alive until
Roy was like, no money!
No money! So this was not received super well. And then, you know what? For the next few years, the Monsanto company recovered.
Until they made a very...
Then they went, what would make us money? What would make us money? Let's see.
They're thinking
we did Agent Orange already. But what if...
we sell it to civilians?
What if we do that, but we dump it on U.S. food? And we make it a little bit less potent, but not enough that it won't kill you. And so that's exactly what they did. They made Roundup. And do you know what Roundup is? It's just an herbicide. It's a different formula than Agent Orange and the other ones, but, like, it still kills you. So, like...
slowly.
And also, they started developing GMO foods because they went, Roundup kills weeds. Roundup kills anything that grows. But if we make these special beans that are resistant to Roundup, then you can grow them, dump Roundup all over the field and on the people's food, and the food will be fine. The food was not fine. You should not be ingesting food that has Roundup dumped all over it. But most of us probably are, because you know what?
I at least ate Roundup once.
And that's why if you ever watched TV at old people's houses, it's always like, if you or a loved one have inhaled Roundup, you may be subject to compensation. So they decided one form of chemical warfare against civilians wasn't enough, so they made Roundup, and people went, okay, and then now there's a lot of class action lawsuits about that. But jumping on to GMO foods, so that was Monsanto's next big break, and they did supposedly pretty well with the with the GMO foods. Let's see. They had a lot of selective things, and then they also started doing some drugs.
They started doing. You mean they started making drugs, or they started doing cocaine?
One of those. And then there was a lot of just the company bought up other companies, and then eventually the company got bought up by Pharmacia. And that's an interesting thing, because basically it means that these gigantic companies are just merging. Monsanto then is continuing to do stuff, and then this new Monsanto, right? They say this is the new Monsanto. They go, oh yeah, we will pay out that money to all those people we brutally murdered in the Vietnam War. And so then Pfizer ended up buying them, which, nothing wrong with Pfizer. They've never done anything wrong. And then jumping forward, we'll just finish out this history segment. There was a lot of things. The seed division got bought up, and so Monsanto kind of started to shrink a little bit. And then guess what? Guess who bought them, Jacob? I want you to take one guess at what U.S. company, famous U.S. medical company, bought up Monsanto. Take one guess.
Big Pharma.
Obviously they're a big pharma company, but it's a certain company that may or may not have held the trademark to one of our favorite substances. That was a joke. We do not promote substances. It's Bayer Pharmaceuticals, the company that invented heroin.
Those stinkers.
Yeah, they went, huh? Let's go. We did that heroin thing back then. What if we just buy a new one?
We'll buy our next heroin.
Yep. And so then they merged with Monsanto, and now Bayer owns Monsanto, and they technically don't use the name at all anymore. And I looked into seeing if Jacob and I could acquire the trademark from the name Monsanto, but we can't because they still own like 2 out of like the 47 trademarks that are associated with it. So I don't think Jacob and I could buy up the name Monsanto because it'd be funny if we used the name Monsanto. But I think we can get the logos in this video, so I'll see if I can put a couple of them at the start or however I want to do it. Maybe just in the
That
thumbnail.
would be a crazy news story. 2 high school kids.
2 high schoolers buy the trademark for the U.S. company Monsanto. That would not... I'm going to be honest. I can see why Bayer does not want to use the name Monsanto. Because Monsanto is just associated with Agent Orange and
We
Roundup.
might make it into a Defunct Land video if we do that.
Yeah. We probably would.
Defunct Land be like, hey, shout out to these absolute legends.
So,
Buying out...
Monsanto has been sued by pretty much every company to exist.
Probably not Walt Disney.
Yeah. So if we look at the lawsuits in the United States, the PCBs or polychlorinated biphenyl, that's what it is, which is literally just a carcinogen. That got a lawsuit, and then maybe Monsanto might have polluted the water with some carcinogens in the 60s, so that got them another lawsuit, and then Bayer, now owning Monsanto, has agreed to pay in total about $800 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but like that's less than like most Marvel movies gross. So like that's not a lot for destroying thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people's lives, honestly. Yeah, the Monsanto has been sued a lot for just absolutely destroying stuff. They kept doing some GMO food testing for a long time, and then obviously Roundup kills you. So
Roundup does not give you wings.
There's a lot. Basically, I don't understand how Monsanto just did it twice back to back. Like that's really the reason we wanted to make this episode. Like think about this: your company, you get a lot of flack for making an herbicide that just absolutely wipes everything out and kills a bunch of people. And then you go, let's do that again. And
but
so
let's sell it to the public.
Yeah, and let's literally sell it to the public. And so they've been sued for a lot of stuff. Don't
work for Monsanto.
If we look at some wonderful sponsorships that Monsanto has done, obviously Disneyland attractions, the Hall of Chemistry, House of the Future, Fashions and Fabrics of the Years, Adventure Through Inner Space, and then they also were a major funder of science research at Washington University in St. Louis. So, that's
Shout out to
interesting.
Washington University.
Also, it wasn't just like in the 60s. They did it in 2015 too. So I bet you that's where they just keep a bunch of their Agent Orange, and they gotta pay them off. So that's the conspiracy theory about that. And then that's pretty much wrapping up the main stuff about Monsanto. And Jacob, do you have any pressing questions that the audience might be wondering at this point?
I don't know. I just think this is kind of just sad. A lot of people just died because people were like, we could kill people faster.
Yep. That sounds about right. They went, ooh, these trees are in the way. What if we...
Yeah.
I found a fun fact. So, the guys who used to spray the Agent Orange and whatnot, they would have Smokey the Bear posters, but instead of saying only you can prevent a forest fire, they would just cross out the word fire, and so it just says only you can prevent a forest, and then they just dump Agent Orange all over the forest. All right, well, wrapping it up.
Just one more thing.
James, one more.
If you're going to make any weapon, make sure that you turn friendly fire off, okay?
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, maybe let's not make a chemical that absolutely just annihilates everything it touches.
Let's not make maybe a big bomb that can just, if you just, drop it somewhere, then it just annihilates everything.
Oh, friendly fire turned off though. Somebody should make that a nuke, but it doesn't kill any civilians.
That would be really hard to do.
Yeah, it would. You'd have to do some genetic research, just like Monsanto with their Roundup.
You would just have to like.
I bet you Monsanto had made Roundup for humans. All right, that's where we're gonna end this episode. I hope you frankly enjoyed it. I know it's a little shorter than our usual main show episodes.
But we gotta build back up.
But we gotta build it back up, and obviously we're not in our regular studio, so it's gonna have to be condensed anyway.
We gotta build back up the studio.
We gotta build back up the studio, and we got lots of secret plans coming. So I don't know what the exact schedule's gonna be like.
Wait, Luke, where do we put the T-Rex?
Well, quickly, before the T-Rex jumps back out of our time machine, I'd like to say thank you to our Patreon supporters, Sam Shockmayev, JJ Sebastian, Josiah Keller, and Joel Webb.
Luke, go.
Oh no, Jacob, the T-Rex, no! Ah!